They've been out there for centuries, lurking in the shadows, rotting in our stories and myths, and buried in our nightmares. For the time will come when monsters will shape the fortunes of all.
Good evening, monster fans in Canada, Newfoundland, and the United States of America.
Dave Foley, Art Hindle, Robert Maillet, Kevin Nash, Jimmy Hart, Herb Dean, Jason Brown, featuring Cyclops, the Mummy, Lady Vampire, Zombie Man, Witch Bitch, Swamp Gut, Werewolf, Frankenstein.
The idea sort of came with me and a group of friends, after maybe a couple drinks, wondering who would win in a fight if. I'm sure we've all had that talk before. And it's sort of just spiraled from there. I mean, we knew we wanted to do a monster fighting movie, and it took a few discussions to narrow it down on the actual wrestling pay-per-view sort of format.
Did you have the cast in mind when you were working on the script?
We had Art Hindle already on board, and we really wanted Robert Maillet as Frankenstein. In fact, we had sent him drawings of himself as the character, and he was blown away by the concept art, and so he signed on fairly early as well. But in terms of the others, like Jimmy Hart and Kevin Nash, they came on later, Herb Dean as well. Dave Foley was a coup for us. We knew we wanted a comedian to sort of anchor the whole program, and him being a Canadian as well really helped in the decision making.
And like Exit Humanity, which you also produced, this is a huge, ambitious project for an indie film. The makeup, the camera work, everything looks like $20 million Hollywood film. How did you guys pull this off?
Oh yeah, and we always say, when we were raising our money, we had enough money to shoot a really low budget film, possibly a documentary, but we're very radical, and we decided to split up that money and shoot 2 films. And our goal was just make them look like they had far bigger budgets, and all the money went into onto the screen. We didn't have assistant directors or production managers or any sort of support staff. We did everything. We were the carpenters and the set builders and the editors, and many hats were worn for very few people.
And what was your shooting schedule like?
We shot up in Collingwood in a month. It was 21 days of shooting. It was very tightly scheduled because we had actors coming and going all the time. There was 38 actors in the movie for a low budget film. So we do our announcer stuff in a block of days, and then we do a fight per day, and we do a backstory per day, and that way we were on location for 1 week, the first week, and then the last 3 weeks we were at our main set, which was a graveyard inside a warehouse we built.
Oh, wow. So you built that graveyard?
Yeah, it was Jason Brown, who an old high school friend who got involved early. He did all the concept art. He built all the sets. He played Cyclops, Swamp Gut, and the old Doomsayer in the graveyard. And he almost single-handedly built that set himself. He built the crypts first, and then we had all the mulch and wrestling ring put in. And then the biggest task was surrounding the entire, 100 feet by 100 feet set with trees, real trees. We had to go cut them down and then set them up.
Where do you get your inspiration from? Like, what films do you look back on, and filmmakers, I guess? I know it's a broad question.
Yeah,
but.
Sure. I mean, for this film in particular, it was sort of like harkens back to the era of Monster Squad. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you see sometimes where the horror genre is going nowadays, where you've got to try to outshock the last guy. And we sort of want to do a departure from that and do something that was fun, something that was accessible for everyone. Even, kids or teenagers could watch Monster Brawl. Wrestling fans could watch it. But yeah, Monster Squad was a big inspiration. I remember watching George Romero and Sam Raimi movies growing up, and Peter Jackson. So those 3 in particular as well.
And what do you hope the audience gets out of the film?
Well, I hope they have fun with it. It was made to be a very interactive, crowd-pleasing film where it's set up like a pay-per-view event. It's a very... It follows a certain format where you're going to see a fight, a backstory, a preview, a fight, and so on. In that regard, it's set up like a WrestleMania. So we always want people to cheer for the monsters they like and adamantly boo the ones they don't like. And seeing it in a theater with a big crowd is the best way to see it, because you do have that feeling like you're watching a live sporting event.
Any chance of a sequel ever?
Yeah, I was sort of set up with a cliffhanger style ending where, like in wrestling, when at the end of a WrestleMania, you'll always see someone kind of come out as a surprise and challenge the champion. So they always leave it, leaving you wanting more, and that's what we wanted to do with this film, where it could possibly spiral into a franchise or a sequel.
What monsters would you take with the sequel?
Well, we've thought about that. We want to develop it more like an actual wrestling, the way that they have factions. So they don't just have one bad guy, they have a faction of bad guys, 4 or 5 of them. And so we thought we'd have the survivors from Monster Brawl 1 and some of the fan favorites come back as sort of the virtuous faction who you're all cheering for, and then have Kevin Nash come back and sort of recruit bad guys like Hades and a Yeti and things like that, and develop an evil contingent, so that you literally have a Royal Rumble, you have tag teams, and it's much more hyped and much more bigger budget too.